Eric Edholm basically he posed this. He had 11 spots, 11 potential locations that Derek Carr could end up now that it looks like he's on the outs.
11 different? That's a lot of locations.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, you think about that, right? That's another
thing. A third of the league.
Without getting into the weeds, just think about that, man. So many teams are hurting for decent quarterback play.
They really are.
Right? Like, I mean, we get talking about, we want elite quarterbacks. Everybody wants an elite quarterback, and only like 4 or 5 teams actually have one, if that. And so 11 different teams, this guy is pinpointing, that could use Derek Carr's services, that could upgrade for them. And among them are your New England Patriots. And essentially the question, it boils down to this. Would you rather have Derek Carr or Mac Jones? Let me go ahead and ask you that question. Would you, if they could trade for Derek Carr, would you do it? Trade Mac Jones for Derek Carr,
like straight up.
Basically, I mean, I'm sure there would be some.
There'd have to be money that would work.
There would be money. There would be draft picks. Like it wouldn't be straight
What's
up.
Carr's contract? Is it a big contract? I feel like
it's 3 years, $121 million, but it's very team friendly. Like these cap hits,
a team friendly $40 million.
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is, you could trade for Carr. I mean, as it is right now, they could cut him and basically just walk away at the end of this. That's how crazy it is.
Sure,
it's a very team friendly deal. So if you traded for him, in theory, if the deal remains the same and they don't restructure it, they could basically have him for a year and be like, not working for us. We're out of here. What would you think about that?
I would think that that's a reasonable question and one that I might actually go for. And it's not because I think Mac Jones is a lost cause or anything, but I sort of wonder, like, in terms of the future of the team, I don't think that Kraft is going to just let Bill go. I don't think that he's going to move on. I think that Bill's still going to be here. And who's Bill going to be better with? Mac Jones, who's MFing all the coaches and doesn't seem like he trusts anybody, or a veteran like Derek Carr, who just got kind of humiliated by Josh McDaniels, who's now, someone that Bill probably isn't all that lovey-dovey with either. I don't know. I think that that for the Patriots, it's an upgrade. Is it enough of one that you want to just throw out your potential future of Mac Jones? Normally, I'd say no, but if Bill's still going to be here and this situation with Mac doesn't resolve itself, then yeah, you have to do something, don't you?
And I guess that's the question for me, right? In theory, Derek Carr does not move the needle enough for me to be like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw away a quarterback that we've already seen can be competent in the NFL with an actual offensive coordinator. Throw him out going into his third year of a rookie contract where he's still affordable. You could still add a bunch of really good pieces around him and perhaps elevate him and then see if he can elevate his teammates as he continues to get more experience in the league. But, I mean, at this point, I think it's fair to wonder if they are already souring on Mac Jones. You've got these questions about, is Mac Jones a dirty player, right? Is he coachable, and is he going to fit with what I want to do? And I mean, yeah, maybe I don't agree with all those questions, but I think that right now there are got to be enough concerns about the way that he's regressed this year where you're probably not thinking anymore about, after year 3, I'm going to go ahead and throw money at this guy.
Yeah.
You're not having that discussion right now. You're not talking about giving Mac Jones $35 million a year at this point.
No
way.
That's out the window. I mean, that's out the window now. At the end of last season coming into this one, it was still definitely on the table, but now I'd say it's not. The big thing that has me hesitant here is you bring in Derek Carr with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge still running the offense, and that's what the hell's the difference?
And that's what can't happen. At that point, and look, we've been talking about the Bill O'Brien deal as that's definitely for Mac Jones, right? Because of the Alabama connection, and Bill O'Brien is there coaching a college offense now, and he should know what to do with these RPOs, and he knows what to do with 2 tight ends in a way that the last 2 offensive coordinators apparently couldn't figure things out. But I mean, there's no reason that Bill O'Brien or something like that couldn't be good for Derek Carr too.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to think that he wouldn't be. That's a tough one. You're talking about a difference in age of about 7 years. Derek Carr, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say, was like 3rd in the MVP race. So, I mean, it's a guy who has shown that he can play the position and shown that he can play it at a high level in the past.
He had 4,800 passing yards last year.
This past year, though, has really got me wondering because for Carr, I feel like he was set up about as well as any quarterback in the league's been set up. Like, he had an offense like the kind that Tua was given. You have one of the best wide receivers in the league. You have a tight end who's considered a top tight end in the league. I don't know if he is anymore. Renfro, who's a good slot receiver like you. He had a great running back who can catch passes. He had everything you could possibly want. And the Raiders this year were maybe the most disappointing team in the NFL. And I know that he's getting blamed for it. He's getting blamed more than, McDaniels, because McDaniels has the power to bench him and, keep him away from the team for the last 2 weeks. But I also feel like he played a role in that too.
Yeah, and I mean, he wasn't up to code. I think that people expected that defense to be a little bit better as well. I don't know that they've necessarily been horrible, right? But they got Max Crosby. They got good players on that unit. But I think people are looking at them like, okay, and I mean, Dan Orlovsky brought this up, that since Carr's been in the league, he's had, on average, the worst defense in football, right? So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind. At the same time, we always throw the blame at the quarterback, right? And I mean, we're doing it here. We're doing it here with Mac Jones, right?
Speaking of which, are they more disappointing than Denver? Really?
Oh, Denver was so bad.
Denver was supposed to get better.
They were supposed to be Russell Wilson was supposed to be,
Russell Wilson's been worse than Derek Carr. You're right about that. All right, I'll give you the Broncos. Both of those teams, I think.
But their defense is pretty good. So
their defense is playoff caliber. They have a really good defense, and you're supposed to be able to put Russell Wilson with, Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and some of these other receivers they've got, and have that offense take off. And no, I'll say they've definitely been probably the biggest disappointment in football, because they are putrid.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson is cooked. He's terrible. And I think with the Raiders, there were enough people questioning.
Carr looks like Joe Montana next to Russell Wilson right now.
And that's the thing. Before the year was started, there were enough people who were saying, I'm not really feeling this whole Raiders thing because I don't buy Derek Carr. Most people thought when I said Kansas City was still going to be good and they were still going to win that division, they were like, really? You don't think Denver is going to win? I'm like, nope. Don't trust Russ.
Yeah, hard to do that. Davante Adams had something to say about Derek Carr getting benched. And this is important because, you set up an offense, you make a big trade to bring in a guy like Adams, and Adams is obviously a once-in-a-generation type of talent. But he has a connection to Derek Carr that goes all the way back to their college days, and he's basically saying, I came here to Vegas just to play with this guy. Do you have the audio there? Jackson, listen to this.
Obviously, I don't think anybody was excited about it in here. Him being one of my really good friends, and the reason why I came here in the first place. I mean, I wouldn't be here right now if he wasn't here. So I think everybody knows how I feel about him, and with that said, there's a process of how things go, and I'm not gonna sit here and go on and on. But obviously, I support my guy, and we got to finish the season out, the best way we can possible with, all things considered at this point. But anything else that you guys got, you can leave that for Coach.
So that to me is almost a bigger problem. Like, you alienate Derek Carr, fine. You're going to move on from him. It seems like Josh McDaniels did do the same sort of thing in Denver. He came in there and he blew out Jay Cutler before the season even started, and went on with Kyle Orton. And I don't know.
And then Brandon Marshall ended up jumping ship a couple of years.
Marshall
after
left,
that.
right? Yeah, I mean, that rubbed a lot of guys the wrong way. And what do you know? McDaniels flamed out. He had a good half a year, and then the next the season finished. The next year he's fired. So that's kind of, I don't know if it's exactly what's going on here, because they did just make a big trade for Adams right before McDaniels got there. I have to assume he signed off on that and that he was all about it. But now you've not only benched your starting quarterback while you're still alive for the playoffs, but you may have just about alienated the best player on your team.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that you wonder why that is, and I feel like maybe there's some embarrassment here, that it wasn't supposed to be like this. We're supposed to have Davante Adams, and this whole thing was supposed to take off, and yet it raises questions about the Josh McDaniels offense. I mean, JT O'Sullivan, the QB school mentioned this at one point, that it's kind of an atypical system, that it's a bit counterintuitive, and so you wonder about a veteran quarterback learning that for the first time and maybe just not quite getting it. And I think it happened with Cam Newton. Maybe in hindsight, that was more what it was, instead of people thinking, Cam Newton doesn't know how to run an NFL offense and he's stupid and whatnot. It's like that, it's different. And then I wonder about Mac Jones, conversely, coming in and running this sort of atypical offense. And then now all of a sudden he's running something more conventional and simple. And he's just like, what do I do? Because it's counterintuitive now. Whereas other people who have learned NFL offenses before might think Josh McDaniels is counterintuitive. So, you know what? it's an interesting question of if you traded Carr for Mac, like would Mac immediately just go back into that and be like, oh, this makes total sense now, let's rock? And you know what? Would they keep the band together over there?
Yeah.
Would it still be Devontae Adams and Darren Waller? Would they start trading people away and blow it up? I mean, there are really so many variables to think about.
If you traded Mac to Las Vegas, Mac would pack his bags and be out of town and be whistling the whole way there.
Probably,
he'd be doing the gritty all the way to the airport, probably.
Oh my God, be the worst gritty of all time. But
Definitely would. But he would be happy. He'd be happy to get out of here and go back with Josh McDaniels. I think that's clear.